either to console you or to say, oh, they're wrong or they're right.
Sure.
So I hid. But under the bed, I realized that what was wrong.
Gene Hackman's exit from Hollywood reflected his enigmatic personality. His decision to leave behind the glitz and glamour of the film industry seemed to align with his deeply private nature. Acclaimed director Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, recently broke his long silence about his experiences working with Hackman, revealing insights that had remained hidden for years. These revelations not only highlight the immense struggles Hackman endured but also showcase the unparalleled dedication he had for his craft, one that came at a significant emotional cost. But what made Hackman such a demanding actor to direct? And why has Coppola chosen this particular moment to unveil these revelations? Join us as we explore how Francis Ford Coppola finally speaks out about Gene Hackman in an exclusive interview, shedding light on the genius and struggles behind one of Hollywood's most iconic actors. The entertainment industry was taken aback when Francis Ford Coppola cast Gene Hackman as the lead in the conversation. At the time, Hackman was recognized as a skilled actor, but he had not yet reached the coveted status of a leading man. The character he portrayed, Harry Caul, was a sharp departure from Hackman's usual tough guy roles. Instead, Caul was a quiet, introspective surveillance expert, a man consumed by anxiety and paranoia. Coming off the success of The Godfather, Coppola took a substantial risk by releasing a thought-provoking psychological thriller instead of another crime drama. In a recent interview, Coppola confessed that he initially doubted Hackman's ability to bring Harry Caul to life. The role required a deeply reserved performance, an emotionally burdened man who kept his thoughts locked away. Hackman himself struggled with self-doubt, reaching a point where he even considered walking away from the film entirely. One of the most unforgettable moments during filming occurred when Hackman approached Coppola and admitted that he didn't fully understand his character. He felt lost, unable to grasp Caul's mindset or motivations. Coppola, rather than giving up on his actor, reassured Hackman that his uncertainty and unease were precisely what made the character real. The role demanded a sense of inner turmoil, and Hackman's struggle only added authenticity to the performance. Despite lingering doubts, Hackman chose to trust Coppola and commit himself fully to the role. His transformation was so complete that he became unrecognizable on screen, fully immersing himself in the psychological state of his character. Crew members observed Hackman keeping his eyes down between takes, speaking in hushed tones, and distancing himself from his co-stars. He would often spend long periods alone, completely absorbed in studying the character's emotional depth. His level of dedication required immense personal sacrifices, leading him into a state of mental exhaustion. According to Coppola, Hackman's intense preparation took a toll on his well-being. The paranoia and isolation that defined Harry Caul seeped into Hackman's personal life. The weight of the role affected him so deeply that he began withdrawing socially, struggling to separate himself from his character. At one point during filming, Coppola approached Hackman, concerned about his exhaustion. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Hackman admitted that portraying Caul was affecting his mental state. However, despite the emotional burden, he was determined to see the project through to the end. When the conversation premiered in 1974, it was met with overwhelming praise. Critics hailed Hackman's subtle, controlled performance, recognizing his ability to bring depth to a character riddled with inner turmoil. The film showcased Hackman as a security expert in the world of audio surveillance, a man torn between excelling at his craft and battling his own paranoia, which ultimately led to his self-imposed imprisonment. Yet, despite the acclaim, Hackman's reaction to seeing himself on screen was unexpected. According to Coppola, Hackman watched the film in complete silence, seated at the back of the screening room with his arms crossed. When the credits rolled, he finally approached Coppola and confessed that watching himself in the role had been an unsettling experience. For Hackman, it wasn't just another performance, it was a deeply personal revelation. He admitted to Coppola that he had never realized he could tap into such profound emotions on screen. It was a striking admission, considering Hackman's reputation for delivering powerful performances without appearing emotionally overwhelmed by them. The role forced him to confront parts of himself that he had never previously examined. According to Coppola, the experience of portraying Harry Caul marked the beginning of Hackman's gradual departure from Hollywood. His commitment to the role had pushed him to emotional depths that left a lasting impact. Coppola also revealed that working with Hackman presented unique challenges. Unlike other actors, Hackman refused to simply follow directions without questioning them. He obsessed over every detail, from his character's wardrobe choices to the placement of his seat in each scene. Surprisingly, Hackman feared that his understated performance might not be understood by audiences. At the time, Hollywood favored loud, dramatic portrayals, and Hackman worried that his quiet, internalized acting style would go unappreciated. Coppola reassured him, predicting that audiences would one day recognize the brilliance of his performance. That prediction has now become reality. Decades later, The Conversation is regarded as a cinematic masterpiece, and Gene Hackman's portrayal of Harry Caul remains one of the finest performances in film history. Gene Hackman never sought the spotlight throughout his professional career. According to director Francis Ford Coppola, the actor had no interest in celebrating his victories after completing a film. Once his work was finished, Hackman distanced himself from any celebratory events and refrained from reveling in his accomplishments. For him, moving forward was a way to shield himself from the emotional weight of the roles he played. During an intense and emotionally charged moment on set, Hackman calmly approached Coppola and, with a touch of humor, stated that he would never pursue a career as a comedian. He offered a subtle smirk before walking away, leaving the crew amused by his dry wit. But what was Hackman truly like behind the scenes? Was he as self-assured as the public perceived, or was his personality far more complex than it seemed? In recent reflections, Coppola shed light on how Hackman's presence dominated any film set he worked on. Despite his reserved public persona, Hackman possessed qualities that were deeply felt behind the scenes. Coppola emphasized the actor's remarkable generosity, explaining how he treated every member of the cast and crew with genuine respect, regardless of their status in the industry. One of Hackman's defining traits was his meticulous preparation. He consistently arrived on set earlier than everyone else, immersing himself in his script in long stretches of silence. Between takes, he was often seen scribbling notes in a small pocket notebook, documenting observations about human emotions, details he later infused into his performances. His dedication extended beyond his own craft. Hackman valued collaboration, believing that a film's success relied on collective effort rather than individual recognition. Unlike many actors who thrived under the limelight, Hackman sought no special treatment. His humility and commitment to storytelling set him apart from the industry's more egocentric figures. Coppola himself was profoundly influenced by Hackman, not just as a filmmaker but as a person. After years of working together, Coppola realized that Hackman never conformed to Hollywood's traditional image of a star. He forged his own path, leaving an indelible mark on cinema history. Despite his extraordinary contributions to film, Hackman never received the level of public recognition he deserved. Coppola noted that his talent was on par with, if not superior to, legendary actors like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Jack Nicholson. During the golden age of Hollywood in the 1970s, Hackman had an uncanny ability to fully embody his characters, making audiences forget they were watching a performance. Al Pacino himself once marveled at Hackman's authenticity after watching The Conversation. In a candid discussion with Coppola, Pacino observed that Hackman wasn't just acting, he was living within the character. Many esteemed actors, including Dustin Hoffman, admitted that Hackman's approach to acting influenced their own artistic growth. Hoffman praised Hackman's ability to convey emotion through intentional silence, proving that subtlety could be just as powerful as grandiose performances. However, Hackman never sought validation or awards. He deliberately distanced himself from Hollywood's glitz and glamour, refusing to take roles that did not align with his artistic values. Coppola revealed that Hackman even turned down the role of Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, later made iconic by Anthony Hopkins, simply because he did not connect with the character. In an industry driven by ambition and recognition, Hackman remained an anomaly, an artist who valued his craft above fame. Hackman's impact extended far beyond acting. Coppola shared a fascinating anecdote about Steven Spielberg visiting the set of The Conversation early in his career. Spielberg, still a novice in the film industry, observed Hackman's technique and absorbed lessons that later influenced his directorial style. Films like Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan bear traces of the authenticity and emotional depth that Hackman embodied. Before Hackman's rise, Hollywood often portrayed male leads as clear-cut heroes or villains, leaving little room for moral complexity. Hackman defied this convention, bringing flawed, deeply human characters to life in films like The French Connection and The Conversation. His ability to depict vulnerability in male protagonists paved the way for a new era of storytelling, influencing the portrayal of nuanced characters in modern cinema. Coppola lamented that despite Hackman's unparalleled versatility, seamlessly transitioning between detectives, villains, and emotionally raw figures, he remained underappreciated. Even today, when coaching young actors, Coppola often finds himself asking, "What would Gene do?" Hackman's artistry set a gold standard in acting, serving as an internal guide for generations of performers. Years after their last professional collaboration, Coppola unexpectedly encountered Hackman at a quiet cafe in San Francisco, far removed from the glitz of Hollywood. During their conversation, Coppola asked why Hackman had chosen to retire from the industry permanently. Hackman's answer was simple yet profound: he wanted to protect his creativity. That brief encounter left an everlasting impression on Coppola, who continues to admire Hackman's unwavering integrity in an industry that often demands compromise. But what ultimately led Hackman to step away from Hollywood for good? His legacy remains a testament to an artist who defied conventions, prioritizing his craft over acclaim. Though he may have left the industry behind, the depth and authenticity of his performances ensure that Gene Hackman's impact on cinema will never fade. Gene Hackman's departure from Hollywood was anything but typical. Unlike most actors, who fade from the industry due to declining opportunities or cling to fame for as long as possible, Hackman chose a quiet and deliberate exit. He retired without a grand farewell, public announcement, or final performance meant to cement his legacy. His decision was not driven by bitterness, frustration, or a sense of failure. Instead, he stepped away at the height of his career, when his talent was still in high demand. This begs the question: what led one of Hollywood's most revered performers to walk away from the industry that had made him an international icon? Spanning over 6 decades, Hackman's career saw him earn 2 Academy Awards, one for his gripping performance in The French Connection and another for his role in Clint Eastwood's acclaimed Western Unforgiven. Despite his success, he became increasingly disillusioned with the evolving Hollywood landscape. The rise of big-budget franchises, excessive CGI, and profit-driven storytelling clashed with his deep appreciation for character-driven narratives and authentic performances. The industry's shift toward spectacle over substance left him longing for an era where raw acting talent and compelling storytelling defined cinema. As a result, Hackman lost faith in the Hollywood system and made a conscious decision to pursue a more meaningful and fulfilling life beyond the silver screen. By the early 2000s, Hackman had already achieved every milestone an actor could dream of: Oscar wins, collaborations with legendary directors, and a filmography that solidified his place in cinematic history. But what set him apart was his ability to separate his personal passions from his career. Unlike many of his peers, who allowed Hollywood to consume their lives at the cost of personal relationships, Hackman prioritized his family. He was married to Faye Maltus for 30 years before their divorce in 1986, and throughout his demanding career, he remained an engaged father to his 3 children. His devotion to his family never wavered, despite the relentless demands of fame. In 1991, he found a new chapter of happiness when he married Betsy Arakawa, a classical pianist. Their marriage marked a turning point in his life, leading him to embrace a more private and peaceful existence. Rejecting the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, the couple relocated to Santa Fe, New Mexico, in search of a quieter life. Director Francis Ford Coppola later reflected on Hackman's departure, seeing it as an extension of his core values. Hackman had always been a man who knew when to walk away, whether from a role, a project, or, in this case, an entire industry. Unlike many actors who struggle to let go of the spotlight, Hackman accepted aging and change with grace, content with the legacy he had built. His retirement was neither dramatic nor regretful. Instead, it was marked by a profound sense of peace. Friends and colleagues often remarked on the serene happiness he exuded after stepping away from the limelight. Living far from the pressures of Hollywood, he expressed gratitude for his career and redirected his creative energy into a new passion: writing. Hackman embraced storytelling through literature, allowing him to continue exploring complex characters and historical narratives without the constraints of the film industry. In 2004, Gene Hackman officially retired from acting, choosing to embrace a life of creativity and simplicity away from the film industry's relentless demands. His transition into retirement was not one of stagnation but rather a redirection of his artistic spirit. Hackman found fulfillment in writing, dedicating himself to crafting novels that delved into historical themes, moral dilemmas, and intricate human emotions. Even before retiring from acting, he had already demonstrated an affinity for storytelling, but with more time and focus, he immersed himself fully in this new creative pursuit. Hackman authored several novels, including Wake of the Perdido Star, 1999, Justice for None, 2004, and Escape from Andersonville, 2008. Through his writing, he continued to explore the same depth and complexity he once brought to his on-screen characters. In interviews, he revealed that writing gave him the same intellectual and creative satisfaction that acting once did, allowing him to build vivid worlds and compelling characters without the constraints of a film set. While he remained deeply engaged in creative work, his day-to-day life became one of tranquility and personal fulfillment. Residing in Santa Fe with his wife, Hackman found joy in the quiet beauty of the Southwest, often spending time outdoors and appreciating nature. He stayed physically active well into his 90s, frequently biking around town and maintaining a structured yet relaxed routine that supported both his physical and mental well-being. Unlike many retired actors who long for the spotlight, Hackman fully embraced his new life, enjoying the freedom that came with stepping away from public scrutiny. Beyond literature, he also pursued his lifelong interest in architecture and design. Since his youth, he had been fascinated by building structures, and in retirement, he dedicated time to property renovation and architectural projects. These endeavors reflected his passion for craftsmanship and creativity, proving that his talents extended far beyond acting. Though he kept a distance from Hollywood, he remained an observer of the industry, occasionally sharing his thoughts in rare interviews. He admired the evolution of storytelling but had no desire to return to the screen. As a film lover, he continued watching movies, not as an insider but as an ordinary viewer, free from the pressures of performance. Hackman's legacy is one of quiet excellence, unwavering integrity, and an uncompromising dedication to his craft. His decision to leave Hollywood was not an escape but a choice rooted in self-awareness and the pursuit of a life that aligned with his values. In February of this year, the world bid farewell to Hackman and his wife, who passed away in the comfort of their New Mexico home. While Hollywood may have often overlooked his contributions, those who truly understood the artistry of film recognize his unparalleled influence. What are your thoughts on Hackman's remarkable career and his dignified departure from Hollywood? Share your reflections in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen, you won't want to miss it.